Let's turn now to big news coming in from the US, which has shaken up US markets in early trade. We saw a drop of almost 500 points in the Dow after the US GDP posted its worst ever contraction ever. Okay, this is below 30% for the April to June quarter. It's spooked markets quite badly because the real depth and breadth of the coronavirus pandemic is now unveiling itself. The jobs data hasn't been as good either. On the other hand, the Nasdaq is a little bit wobbly because all the big players are due to give their results today, and 40% of the Nasdaq will be impacted by that. So all of that shaky stuff going on. To top it all, Donald Trump has tweeted out a question saying, do you think we should postpone the elections in view of the coronavirus pandemic? So it's a shaky situation there. Helping us make sense of it now is Arvind Sanger, managing partner of Geosphere Capital Management. Mr. Sanger, very good evening for us. Good morning to you and welcome to the India Development Debate. Your take on what's going on right now in the US markets and global markets.
Well, the U.S. markets is funny. You were just talking about NASDAQ. NASDAQ is actually now green for the day. So I think all the brouhaha over the hearings held here yesterday in Congress have not really significantly dented the technology leaders, the FANG stocks as they're called. And I think, yes, there is going to be more, kind of congressional hearings, but nothing is likely to happen till after the presidential election in terms of any meaningful action coming out of Washington. And so that's a debate for another day. But I don't think the market is too concerned that it's going to significantly impair the market leadership of the tech leaders. Secondly, I think the GDP numbers, while they were bad, they were not any worse than expected. In fact, slightly better than expected. So I don't think that's the reason for the market selling off. I think the coronavirus continues to overhang the market, and that seems to be postponing any hopes of a quick rebound in economic activity. So that's a negative. And then Trump's tweet this morning was a bit of a shocker because people were nervous about whether or not there's going to be political turmoil and gridlock in the U.S., which we don't normally have. There's been no instant.
I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you. But what do you make of what Trump is saying? Do you think he's nervous because of what the polls are showing, or is he sort of just throwing it out there and seeing what comes back?
I think Trump is more of a rabble rouser than and obviously the polls are not going his way. So getting more turmoil seems to be his modus operandi, but. The only place where election dates can be postponed would be requiring an act of Congress. And the leading Republican, the head of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, very quickly put out a statement saying that the elections are set in stone and there is no point, there's no chance of postponing them. So the markets actually had a bit of a rebound. So I'm not sure what President Trump is doing, but clearly he seems to be lashing out in all different directions and implying that there could be, some fraud in the election because of mail-in voting and other types of, alternative forms of voting if people cannot show up at voting. That's where he's raising questions about the legitimacy of the election, and that's what's making investors a little nervous.
So very quickly, Arvind, the sort of panic we saw in opening trade, storm in a teacup, or do you think that there are deeper concerns which will crop up over the next few days as the complete extent of the damage by coronavirus is unveiled?
I think the coronavirus damage is going to continue to overhang the market for the next few weeks and months, and I think we have to wait and watch how the as we go into the normal flu season in the fall in the U.S. in September, October, whether we see a resurgence cases. We'll also be watching closely for the movement in the vaccine. But remember, we had a Fed meeting yesterday in the U.S. and the Fed came out with very, very reasonably benign. So I think we have the Fed providing support. So I don't think the market's going to have any major crash, but it can stay range bound while dealing with the coronavirus.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arvind Sanger there. Pleasure to speak with you always, talking about all of the factors that shook up the US markets this morning. Things seem to have calmed down now.